Hey, this is Jen Johans at filmintuition.com and filmintuition on social media and Letterboxd. And this is Watch with Jen. A film critic for publications such as LA Weekly, New York Magazine, Vulture, the New York Times, and formerly the Village Voice, the brilliant Bilge Ebiri is one of my favorite journalists working today. Additionally, he is a writer-director who's known for the films New Guy, Purse Snatcher, and for assistant directing The Barber of Siberia. Well, Bilge, I want to thank you so much for coming back. It's always such a pleasure. You're one of my favorite people to talk about movies with, and so it's just a joy. How are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I am doing well. Yeah, it's kind of a busy week, crazy week, dead cars and appointments and just so much going on. How about you? Lots of deadlines?
Lots of deadlines, some of it self-inflicted. I mean, they're not really deadlines anymore because I've blown them all. So at this point, like the deadline, I always think of as something in the future. Once I miss the deadline, it's something else. So it's really a
It's
bunch of
to-do
things that,
list.
yeah, it's a bunch of things that were due a variety of periods ago, some days ago, some weeks ago, some months ago, and a couple due today that I haven't done yet, even
Okay.
though it's the middle of the night. Um, but yeah, it is what it is. It's also it's silly season for critics
Yeah.
the award stuff.
Yeah, we have to watch like so many heavy movies in a row, back to back. It's a lot. And then you get invited on a podcast and all these movies are heavy and it's like, oh man. No.
Well, it's a lot of, because it's award season. Everybody wants you to see their films before you vote for it as critics. But
Mhm.
then there's like the stuff you have to write about. And also
Yeah.
because it's the end of the year, everybody wants like the think pieces and the what about this and about this trend and about that trend. And I'm like, you realize to write about that trend, I have to watch like 10 movies and read like hundreds of
Yeah.
pages of stuff. Like it's not something that happens automatically, or someone will be like,
No.
hey, do you want to do interview this person like in 2 days? And I'm like, no, like I would love to interview that person, but I can't get
Yeah.
ready for an interview in 2 days.
No, you want to prepare. You want to see the movie. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Or they'll
exactly.
be like, but you asked like months ago if you could interview them. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't tell me I could. I'm not going to
Months
do
ago.
like a ton of research for an interview that's not going to happen. I get
Yeah.
a lot of that, where it's like, oh, this thing that I thought we weren't doing, we're now doing, and I'm totally unprepared. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, talking about awards movies and an actor who's been in a lot of these movies, and sometimes there were controversies around some of these movies close to
Mhm.
awards time. I'm sure we're going to reference some of that. But when we were thinking of an actor to discuss, you came up with Russell Crowe. I want to say maybe it was one we threw out a while ago. I can't remember. We have a lot of ideas, Bilga, that I've been writing down all
Was
these
it my
years.
idea?
Was
I
it?
can't
Or
even
maybe,
remember.
maybe I can't remember. We go back and forth. We
Yeah,
still need to do our Gerard Butler episode,
I
listeners. That's
know,
coming.
and I feel very ashamed that I did a podcast with someone else about Gerard Butler. I'm
Okay.
happy to do one with you as well, but it felt like a little bit of a betrayal doing
Oh
it.
no. Well, 25 or 26, but we also have a million people to talk about.
Den of
So
Thieves 2 Pantera is coming out soon, and it'll be a natural opportunity to talk Jerry Butler.
there you go. Some Jerry. Yes. But we're talking about Russell Crowe today. So what is it about Russell Crowe? Do you remember the first thing that you saw him in or when he actually made an impact and you were like, "Whoa, who am I watching?"
I mean, in Proof actually, which is one of the films we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, Proof was one of those films. It was, an Australian production. It was very successful over there. Came to the US and was kind of a small art house hit. And it's such a modest little movie in certain ways that I always think
Yes.
of it as a very small movie, but it was a big movie in Australia, as I understand. Um, And it's funny, I was reading an article about Russell Crowe. I was reading one of those articles that was written kind of earlier in his career when he had kind of become a bigger star.
Hmm.
And, you know, it was talking about how intense he is and how masculine he is. And I mean, this was written like in the heart of the sort of gladiator, beautiful mind, Cinderella Man period. Master and Commander, and I can't remember who'd written the piece. It might have been Manola Dargis, actually. But it was a consideration of him as kind of this masculine avatar and this very intense
Hmm.
persona. And it made the point that while Proof was actually kind of a breakout role for him, I believe he won an award in Australia for it.
Supporting actor,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Hmm.
But he's in some ways the least memorable aspect of the movie. I mean,
He
he's kind
really
of,
is. Yeah.
yeah, like he's such a kind of very mild, affable, slightly lost, very kind of normie kind of character. It's funny because
Yeah.
the film, you know, sort of turns between these two kind of, high pressure extremes
Hmm.
of Hugo Weaving and Genevieve Picot's characters, right, who are both very, very odd characters. Uh,
Yes.
he's a blind photographer with like a massive chip on his shoulder, and she's
Yeah.
his housekeeper, who is like in love with him, sort of, but is also maybe obsessed with him, and has this like
In a
weird
dark, yeah.
sadistic relationship with him. And he's paranoid, she's sadistic, and Russell Crowe is just like this
Kind of
waiter
puppy.
that gets
Yeah.
caught in the middle of it. But I remember like I remember Proof. I remember him in Proof, but I didn't walk away from Proof saying, "Oh my God, who was that guy?"
No, no.
It was later when I think when I saw Romper Stomper, I don't think I
Wait
even
a
made the
year
connection.
later. Yeah.
Like I don't think I made the connection between like the crazy charismatic,
Hmm.
neo-Nazi skinhead in Romper Stomper with the guy in
In
Proof,
proof.
but
Yeah.
somebody at some point mentioned that, either in an article or somebody mentioned it, and I was like,
Hmm.
"That's that guy," like, and
Yeah.
then suddenly I was like, "Oh, this actor has range." And then, I mean, not long after that, he was in. I remember the Denzel Washington movie Virtuosity.
That's where I first, yes, saw him. Like, I think I'd seen Proof and Romper Stomper actually. I know I did on video in the early 90s. I rented everything. And same thing. I thought, those were powerful films, but Virtuosity, I remember going to see it and thinking, who is that? Yeah, there's something interesting. And then Quick and the Dead, I think was also 95, like right around there.
Right? Are
Mhm.
those are they the same year?
I think
I
so.
think so, because I think
Yeah.
Sharon Stone brings Russell Crowe to the U.S.
She did. She fought for him and DiCaprio to be in that film.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think I saw Quick and the Dead later. Like I don't think I saw it when it came out. Despite being a Sam Raimi fan, but that movie wasn't in theaters for long. It was not a
I
hit.
saw it, but I'm a
Yeah.
weirdo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean I would have seen it.
Westerns. Yeah.
But I did see Virtuosity, which I thought was terrible. I still
Oh,
do not
yeah.
like
Yeah.
Virtuosity
Not
at
a
all.
great picture. No.
There is this sort of slowly growing community of Virtuosity stands on Twitter, and it might be the thing that makes me finally leave Twitter. I'm just like
I
I can't.
know people just keep popping up for some of these movies, and you're like, it's not that great, you guys. Yes.
And it's funny because I know that in many cases I am that guy with like weird movies that everyone's dismissed that like somebody's
Hmm.
out there making a case for. But then there's certain movies that I'm like, listen, even
It's
I
not
can't
good.
do this one.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, no, so that was and then, it's weird because it feels like he was a star for a long time, right?
Hmm.
Because these films were so big and so kind of weighty, and he very quickly gained this reputation of being basically like the greatest actor of his generation. But
Yeah.
really it was a very brief period when we had like the reign of Russell Crowe,
Hmm.
right? I mean, 19 is it LA Confidential is 97, right?
Yes.
He's in that. Obviously, there's The Insider in 99.
Hmm.
It's so wild to me still that, and I know we're going to talk about both these movies. It's so wild to me that The Insider is before Gladiator.
It really is. Yeah. He really went for it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
also like in like the inside, obviously he's playing kind of doughy older man, and then within a few months he's like totally ripped as Maximus
Yeah.
in Gladiator. But what happens is, um, I mean, first of all, he's really good in The Insider, but also The Insider has the feel of an actor doing a part that's going to somehow like bring him back into the fold. There is a kind of like it feels like there's something wrong. It's like a glitch in the Matrix that The
Yeah.
Insider is 1999. Like, I feel like that's the movie he would have done in like 2010, you know? Um,
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
but
Kind
anyway,
of around the 310 to Yuma era. Yeah.
yeah, right. So
Or
there's
Body of
really
Lies around there.
right. So there's really just a 5 or 6 year period when Russell
Hmm.
Crowe is kind of at the top of the world, it feels like.
Yeah.
And then after that, he's obviously still around. He works a ton, but that kind of it's not a period of decline. Like it's not
Hmm.
like he doesn't give good performances. From what I understand, he himself was kind of like enough. Like
Yes.
I don't want to do these like huge things where I'm off for a year,
Yeah.
getting ready and doing these massive parts.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. And I think the movies that did launch him, those early ones, Proof and Romper Stomper, are well worth checking out. I
Oh yeah.
think I can't remember exactly where. I mean, when you're listening to this, you can track it down with the Just Watch app or through a Google search. But I think Romper Stomper was on Canopy and Proof was on Hoopla, but I think it's also on Peacock, I
Yes,
believe.
I believe they're
Yes.
both on Peacock.
Okay, great.
I rewatched Proof on Peacock, and
Okay.
very, very pleasant to discover that it wasn't something I had to,
Rents. Yeah.
suffer through commercials
Oh,
or,
yes.
you
Yeah.
know, it's like one of
Exactly.
those movies I probably should have bought on DVD at some point, but for some reason didn't. Um, but it's a lovely movie, and it's really, I'd be curious what people think of a movie like that today because it's a film
Yes.
that presents these not very likable characters.
No, not at all. Yeah. I think Australian cinema was kind of going for it in an interesting way. Like some of the Gillian Armstrong and some of the movies that were
Yeah.
like a decade earlier, and now we had Jocelyn Moorhouse. And yeah, I think that is interesting. Kind of had the cult of likability, although in the 90s with the independent movies, anything went there for a while. But we aren't making movies like this at all anymore. And so it would be interesting if someone watches it for the first time, or
Yeah.
someone who only knows of Jocelyn Moorhouse from like How to Make an American Quilt and then goes back and watches Proof. Yes.
Yeah, and I remember being like after this movie being a huge Jocelyn Moorhouse fan, and I
Yeah.
loved How to Make an American
Me
Quilt.
too. Yeah.
But over the years, I feel like she just hasn't gotten the kinds of opportunities
No,
that,
the
that really.
dressmaker was pretty bad. Yeah.
I liked The
Oh, you
Dressmaker.
did?
I
Oh,
did like The
the
Dressmaker.
performance was good by Winslet. Yeah.
Yeah, and Judy Davis was fantastic.
Yeah. She's always great.
Yeah, I did like The Dressmaker, but like I just discovered that like she made a movie. Was it this year? One of these kind of uh elderly actresses get together movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like a film that was kind of discussed and then dismissed. I didn't realize she'd done it. Like I was looking over her filmography, and I was like, wait, that was a Jocelyn Moorhouse film. I would have watched it.
Oh, wow. Okay. But and then Romper Stomper, totally left field performance there. Could not be more different from Proof. This was a shocking one. I just talked about American History X with Roxana Haddadi, Edward Norton's performance a few weeks ago or last month. And but this one is far more frenetic. It's kind of like the beginning of American History X, but like
Mhm.
sustained.
Yeah.
It's a crazy film. I don't know that the whole movie really fully works, but the performances are really powerful. Yeah.
Um, it's been a while since I've seen Romper Stomper, but I remember being, well, I remember being really shaken by it, but also having a lot of issues with just it as a, I didn't think it was that good a film,
Mm-mm.
but it's like one of those films that like really makes an impression on you just because it's so kind of aggressive and stylized and obviously because of the subject matter. But it is interesting that type of film. I mean, with that subject matter, every few years you get one of those films, right? You get like
Yes.
American History X you mentioned. You
The
get Robert.
Believer was the one with
There's The
Gosling.
Believer.
Yeah.
There was Costa Gavras's Betrayed from the
Oh,
late 80s,
yes.
which I really love.
Hmm.
And then there was that film a few years ago with uh uh Daniel Radcliffe, right?
Oh, yes, you're
Remember,
right.
what was that?
Yeah.
I reviewed it. I don't remember what it's called. But um which was like not was it what did I think of it? I reviewed, I can't remember what I thought of it. I think I was kind of mixed on it. I don't quite remember.
Yeah.
But now we're getting The Order, which isn't out yet, but is coming out, this award season, with Nicholas Hoult
Hmm.
as a white supremacist and Jude Law as the Fed trying to take him down. It's kind of like, I mean, I've described it to people as Heat with white supremacists. I think it's a really good film.
Okay.
But it is interesting, like every few years we get the white supremacist pop culture check-in, and it's like it's never really winds up being a discussion about the film. It winds up becoming where are we in our current historical trajectory? Like
I
it's so
know.
like the films
Yeah.
themselves can be good or bad or indifferent or interesting or whatever, but then it's like so quickly you go from thinking about the film itself to
Whoa.
your
Yeah.
relationship as a person in actual like historical time with that film.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah,
it's,
watching Romper Stomper again now in
yeah,
2024 after the election was eerie because some of the arguments these guys are making, you're like, well, they just say that now on the
yeah.
news. Yeah.
Well, and I
Yeah.
remember when Costa Gavras's Betrayed came out in the 80s. I mean, that was a film that critics did not like, and a lot of people just dismissed it as kind of this is a ridiculous subject to be making a film about. And
That's the one with Deborah Winger where
Deborah
she,
Winger, Tom
yes.
Berenger. Tom
Yep.
Berenger is like the white supremacist, and um,
That was I actually think it's a very entertaining movie. It's a little
I love it.
ridiculous, but it's entertaining. Yeah.
I love it, and I'm like, I think that movie holds up a lot better than a lot of films that seemed far more topical and restrained did back then. Um, but anyway, Russell Crowe wasn't in that one.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, but romper stomper adjacent is what we're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
And then in the mid 90s, of course, we talked about Virtuosity, Quick and the Dead, and LA Confidential is the movie that put him on the map. I actually remember the press tour for
Mhm.
LA Confidential. And one of the funniest things I still remember was seeing Alec Baldwin on the Rosie O'Donnell show. And he kept like cracking jokes about how Kim Basinger was so charmed by her co-star. And so he was like doing an impression of her at dinner. Oh, Russell said the funniest thing today. And like then Baldwin kept going, oh, did Russell? Like it was just how charming this guy was. And then Rosie and other people, and through the entire tour, they were like, this guy is gonna, you're all gonna fall in love with this guy in this movie. And so I remember when we saw it on opening night, we drove a little bit far and we actually saw it at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So we got out really late. And yes, that was, also Guy Pearce, I remember being blown away by. But yeah, it was such a potent performance. And I think that's the thing that really everybody all of a sudden was, on ready to go to bat for Russell Crowe. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he really jumped out in that film as well. Although at that point, we kind of
Yeah,
had some
we'd
idea of him
seen,
as a
yes.
very intense actor. I'm not the world's biggest fan of LA Confidential, and I always thought I was like, oh, maybe I just didn't see it in the right mood. I watched it again a couple of years ago, and I was like, yeah, I'm still not entirely on board with this movie.
The ending for me. I feel like it goes on too long. That's my big issue.
Definitely, I mean, that's definitely part of the issue. But what's I think like tonally, the film is kind of a little all over the map, and also psychologically, it requires Russell Crowe's character to sort of like I don't think they've entirely established his psychology because the
True.
plot requires him to fly off the handle in situations where I'm like, I don't, I'm not entirely buying it. And it's not because of the performance. I actually think, I mean, this is a movie that everyone loves and everyone talks about how it should have beaten Titanic, about how it has a perfect script. I think the script is a problem with that movie. I mean, it's not a bad film. Like, oh, I can watch it again, but I think it's kind of a, I'm a little mid on it, and it is interesting because at the time I thought to myself, I was not a particularly big Kevin Spacey fan, and I'm not saying that now because he's like been
Mhm.
deemed a bad person, but he was always one of those actors where I was like, there's just like it never quite feels like I'm
A
just
little
never
self-conscious. Is that kind of what you?
self-conscious and there's just something a kind of very middling quality to a lot
Okay.
of movies. Some of it was just the fact that he was often cast in these very middle brow, you know,
Hmm.
American Beauty and stuff. But uh but I did think at that point because because I hadn't liked Virtuosity very much, I was like, oh, is Russell Crowe going to be one of those actors that I just don't like? Like is he going to be one of those actors who just like shows up in a movie and I'm like, oh God, I
That
have to
guy.
keep doing this again. Yeah. So it was interesting that he kind of became who he became,
Yes.
like he became undeniable as an
Yeah.
actor.
Yes. Well, I'm a huge fan of The Insider. I think it's one of the best films of '99. Speaking of up against another Kevin Spacey movie, American Beauty, of course. But The Insider, Michael Mann, when I mention this film, so many people jump out and they're like, this is the best Michael Mann movie. I disagree, but I think it's in like the top five. Although, if we're talking about Michael Mann, those can cycle different numbers every day pretty much. But I love this film. I love what it says about journalism, about whistleblowers. I love that there's a dueling fax machine sequence that's so thrilling and exciting, and you're like, you miss the fax machine. It's a really good performance by Al Pacino in an era where we were kind of like getting a lot of the post Son of a Woman type of Al Pacino performances. So yeah, I love this one. They gave Diane Venora better hair than she has in Heat, thank goodness. She's great. Yeah, I think this is a really good film. Did you love it right away?
I love The Insider. I mean, I've talked about it endlessly on all sorts of podcasts because of the whole Michael Mann thing. I did like The Insider a lot when it came out. I mean, I've talked about this before on like Blake's podcasts, but I
Mhm.
wasn't like entirely sold on Michael Mann. Kind of in the early '90s, and I mean, I liked Heat at the time. Now I think Heat is one of the all-time greatest
I
films. But
agree. It grew on me more the
yeah,
more I watched it.
I think it does. I think it did for a lot of people because
Yep.
it's designed to not really quite be the movie you're expecting it to be.
No.
I mean, it delivers on a lot of those fronts, but then it does so much more that at the time, I mean, I've talked about this too, but Whit Stillman has this thing that he mentioned on the Cows in the Field podcast, that I really love. He was talking about the last days of disco and kind of how it wasn't a particularly big hit when it came out. And he talked about the movie's not normalness. Like he's just talking about movies that are not normal. And so when they first come out, there's this weird, like they exist in this context of this is the new movie, and it kind of exists within the context of that moment. And it's like almost a subconscious thing. Even those of us who are trying not to do that wind up doing it. You wind
Yeah.
up judging it based on all these factors that have more to do with like the types of movies that are coming out at that particular moment
Yes, that's
or that
true.
you've seen,
Hmm.
that year or whatever. And 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 like for whatever reason, these movies are often deemed lacking or not
Hmm.
quite there or moderately successful or whatever or problematic in some way. And then 10 years later, you're like, what the hell did I ever think was wrong with this movie? It's wonderful. Or like, it's so crazy. And it's like, well, yes, it's crazy, but that's what's great about it. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, there's so many films I've listed these in the past, but like Bram Stoker's Dracula is a perfect example of that, right? It comes out and everybody's like, what the hell is this? And now it's like, how could we ever have not recognized that this thing was so special? Um, or I don't know, in my mind, Tenet is one of those movies where I'm like, what else do you want? Like it's completely daring. Like it's like nothing you've seen before, you know? Um, and he was a bit like that, right? I mean, it was just like so ambitious and so
Hmm.
overarching and in its kind of Dickensian expansiveness. And at the time I was kind of like, why are we wasting our time with all this stuff? And now I'm like, oh my God, I was an idiot for thinking that. But The Insider was one of those movies where like, all right, this time he got it. This time Michael Mann nailed it, you know? And I mean, as you say, it has two great performances. Aiding to look at Heat and The Insider as because there are two movies he makes back to, I mean, not back to back. One is
Yeah.
95, the other is 99, but those are the two movies he does
Yeah.
yeah, consecutively. And they have similar structures, right? I mean,
Yes.
both are basically about two people who are, for the most part, in separate places, right? And I mean, they're
Hmm.
not, I mean, obviously in Heat, it's like a big deal when they finally come together because it's De Niro and Pacino.
Yeah.
But like in The Insider, they're also often separate. I mean, they come together every once in a while, but really what's happening is like one is having a particular character trajectory, and the other is having another particular character trajectory, and it's all happening within the context of this overarching story. But the way man loves to play these characters off one another,
Hmm.
obviously in Heat, it's the cat and mouse story, so it's one guy is chasing the other. And in The Insider, one guy's, initially kind of chasing the other, and then they're working together ostensibly. But they are temperamentally two completely different people. And, when you watch, I mean, and the way man cuts between them, I mean, you can sense that he's drawing attention to these contrasts in their characters. You know,
Hmm.
you see Al Pacino's Lowell Bergman in kind of these situations where he's living on the edge, as man characters like to say. He's living on the edge,
Yes.
and he's in many ways a very free man, right? He's
Hmm.
doing what he loves, and he has this kind of um inner aggression that makes him go out and achieve things, right? And then there's little
Yep.
scenes where he talks about his past and his kind of counterculture roots and things like that. And then you have Russell Crowe's character, who is, I mean, this is a man who doesn't have any kind of freedom all throughout the film. I mean, he trades one kind of unfreedom for another, really.
Hmm.
But he is, completely kind of submerged in this office where he's leaving. I mean, he's been fired. Ironically enough, at the end of the movie, it's like there's this parallelism that happens or this parallel that happens between him and Pacino's character, because at the end, Pacino leaves his job and kind of steps out into the light, the way Russell Crowe does. But Crowe, Jeffrey Wigand, you know, he loses his job, and so much of his job is really about providing for his family and about, making sure
Yes.
he has
Yep.
health insurance for his kids. And, they go out of their way in the film to show that one of his daughters has asthma. So it's like, and it's funny because
Yeah.
like, my son had asthma when he was younger. And I mean, it can be scary, but it's so rarely that like frantic and urgent pulling out the things. It's like you got your albuterol ready for whenever they need it. And,
Hmm.
it's not that like freak out of a situation, but it can be scary. And
It
but
sets the tone, though, that this is a man
right,
who everything is coming down on him. Yeah.
yeah, it creates this
Yeah.
kind of urgency, and it also
Yeah.
creates a kind of
Because he
um
has a lot of anxiety and he's a little volatile and unstable and but he's a good man and he wants to share something that he knows is wrong. Yeah.
yeah, and also it also, I think, importantly establishes some context for Diane Venora's character, who is,
Yes.
let's face it, one of the all-time unsupportive spouses in movie
Yes.
history.
Yeah.
This
She's
with
kind of
this
a
and
wet
he.
blanket. Yes.
Yeah. But in both cases, Dave, man makes sure to create give us the reasons why she's like this.
Oh
And
yeah.
and obviously there's a certain amount of like she's used to a comfortable life and these kind of nice
Mm-hmm.
big houses that they have. And there's that scene later on where she's yelling at him for like washing his hands in the sink, and it's
Yes, and it's you're bringing this into our house. You're bringing
yeah,
this into my space, our domain. Yeah. It's one of those conversations that's about something else. Yeah.
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 And it's but because she's like so clearly worried for their daughter,
Yeah.
health insurance and things like that,
Like you
these are
get
really
it. Yeah.
important, right? And but like there's already that tension. I mean, when he says that he's been fired, first he doesn't say it to her, and then
Yes.
he reveals it to her, and the first thing she wants to know about is like, what will happen to them financially. There's no kind
Yeah.
of, oh my God, I'm so sorry, you know.
Yeah.
And he's obviously embittered by that. Uh,
Uh-huh.
so, you understand the nature of their relationship. But what's the genius of the casting here, though, is Crow is, even at this point, such a kind of intense actor and has a reputation for being an intense actor that to see him play this kind of very doughy, um, you know, milk toasty kind of character, there is
Hmm.
still this edge of like this guy could lose it at any moment. And it's not a kind of
Yes.
like
Yeah.
it's not quite like I think it would be kind of different if he did this movie 2 years later, because after he'd done like Gladiator and stuff, because you'd be
Hmm.
kind of anticipating it. It's not so much the promise um of a blow up, but the possibility of one. And he really kind of this sense that this is a person who has internalized everything. And
Yes.
generally speaking, people who internalize everything eventually have to externalize it.
Yeah.
So that's I mean, that's, I think, the beauty of casting Crowe in that part. And he's so good in it. I mean, he actually
Yeah.
does look like what Russell Crowe kind of looked like, when he got older.
Hmm. Yeah, it is such a strong and unexpected performance. I mean, we know he's a great actor, but it isn't really a part like, you could have maybe seen, to use Heat or something, somebody like Val Kilmer taking on that role at that stage of his career. But coming up through like LA Confidential and some of the, like he wasn't going for these Born Identity type roles then. He really was about the work and wanting to kind of dig in and do these character parts. And I think, yeah, it's a fascinating one. And it is interesting then that he goes over and does Gladiator right after that. This was around the time of course, the big tabloids and Proof of Life and how that movie was kind of, and I think it's actually a very good movie. I think David Morse and David Caruso kind of steal that movie over Russell Crowe. Unfortunately, the everything that happened with him and Meg Ryan kind of like weighed on that film, unfortunately. But I do think it's good. But seeing The Insider and then seeing Gladiator, it does feel like they are out of time, that Gladiator should be first. Gladiator is a film where it's kind of maybe like you with LA Confidential, although I don't know your relationship to Gladiator, where I like the film. I think it's very good. It's beautifully shot. The cinematography is amazing. The music is like my favorite. Good performances. I think Joaquin Phoenix kind of steals it, but I don't love it the way that other people love this movie. Although, it is a strong performance. Yeah. How do you feel about Gladiator?
I love Gladiator. I remember when Gladiator first came out, I really liked it, but I had two problems with it. Which was one, I thought it was like gratuitously gory. And I don't mean like gratuitously
Yeah.
gory and like like I don't have a problem with screen violence at
No,
all.
no.
But it was just like there were certain scenes where it's just kind of just a little too indulging in the bloodshed.
Relish is in it. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is, when you look back at it, I mean, obviously that's kind of part of the point of the film, but that stuff
Yeah.
took me out of the movie a little bit at the time. And then
Mhm.
the other one, it's funny to say this now, is that I thought Joaquin Phoenix's performance in that movie at the time was terrible.
Okay.
Um, I mean, he got nominated for an Oscar for it, and you know,
And you're like, who is this guy?
set
Come on.
himself
Yeah.
off on the road to being like one of our great actors, and has had a reign longer than Russell Crowe,
Yeah. Hmm.
arguably. But at the time, I was just like, this is too much. This is too much. Like, I'm
Too
just like,
much method actory kind of thing. It's the Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it was weird because I was watching it and thinking to myself at the time, um, I feel like there's just a fundamental imbalance here because he's giving this kind of very sort of flamboyant
Yeah.
performance where I mean, he's basically a snarling villain.
Yes.
Um, and it, I was just like, I don't need the movie to spell out everything in that way
Yeah, I
at the
agree with you a
time.
little bit at the time. I think some of that is the script, though, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, some of that is the script. I mean, it's, you know, in so many ways, when I look at a movie like, oh, say Gladiator 2, you
I have
can
not seen
appreciate
it yet.
Gladiator
Yes.
more. Um, or for that matter, Napoleon. But it is, I think at the time, again, this is you watch a film in the context in which it comes up, because at the time I thought of Gladiator as more of a prestige movie than it actually was and is,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
of, because it was Ridley Scott. Like Ridley Scott was,
yeah.
I mean, Ridley Scott was an artist. I mean, still is,
Oh,
but
for
like back
sure.
then,
Yeah.
it was like Ridley Scott had done Blade Runner and he'd done Alien.
Hmm.
Um, and like his films tended to err on the side of artistry over,
Hmm.
schlock, let's say.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he was not, ironically enough, Tony Scott was more of a schlockmeister in a weird
It's
way.
kind of like he did a Tony Scott, or that's what it felt like at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was coming after Braveheart, which I love, although that movie gets a little too gory.
I
Yes.
love
Yeah.
Braveheart. No, I love Braveheart.
I love that film. See, that's
Yeah.
my like if of that era, I'm like the Braveheart person. Yeah.
Well, the thing about Braveheart is there is obviously all sorts of horrific bloodshed in
Yes,
Braveheart,
yes.
but it's happening to people we care about, and that's the
Exactly.
thing with Gladiator. It was often just like it's just like
Let's show it.
random people just
Yeah.
getting slaughtered, and it's kind of
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
this isn't. Whereas with Braveheart, I mean, when they cut,
Oh my goodness.
the
Horrific.
girl's
Yep.
throat, it's just like holy
Or
shit,
the
you know.
stretching at the end. I mean,
Oh
oh, yeah.
yeah. But I mean, today I look back on Braveheart and Gladiator almost as kind of, a tandem. I mean, there are lots of films in that period. I mean, there is this, I would argue, that there is kind of a period of, well, avoid the repetition, an era of period action that we get
Yeah.
starting in the early 90s. I mean, I like to think of Last of the Mohicans as being the one that started it, but it's probably not like it was kind of bubbling up in the air. Um,
Yeah, we
and
had the Robin Hood and the yeah, all of those films.
yeah,
Yeah.
we get, the Kevin Costner Robin Hood,
Rob Roy and First
and then
Night and all of
Yeah,
them.
like First Night's the flop, but First Night is actually, I
I
really like First
enjoy it,
Night.
but
I
yeah,
love First Night. We
exactly.
should do a Richard Gere episode. That's the one we should do. Um, but we do get this kind of period of suddenly that type of movie is like cool again. And it's not, I
Hmm.
mean, these are all different types of like sword and sandal and like, colonial action and Rob Roy are three very different movies, but in a weird
Yeah,
way, I think they're the kinds of movies that Hollywood probably thinks of as kind of um,
yeah. I just did an episode
unapproachable.
on neo swashbucklers actually with Dan Mecca and Connor O'Donnell a few months ago, and we were kind of talking about these going up into the Pirates of the Caribbean era,
Mhm.
Mask of Zorro, Knight's Tale. There was this kind of period. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, and arguably it's killed off by combination of things, including like September 11th.
Yep.
But then in the wake of September 11th, you get like complete fantasy,
Yep.
right? You get total fantasy. You get the Lord of the Rings movies.
Hmm.
The Harry Potter movies to a certain extent aren't really swashbucklers, but they
Yeah.
have a bit of that. Pirates of the
Fantastical.
Caribbean is
Yeah.
after that as well. But there is it becomes like you start to get this sort of, no, there has to be like supernatural elements, there has to be effects, there has to be kind of a, almost a sci-fi Spielberg
Yeah.
element to it. Um, and you sort of lose, I think, the things that like the movies like Last of the Mohicans and Rob Roy, and to a great extent Braveheart and Gladiator
Hmm.
gave us. I mean, to go back to the thing I was saying was, at the time, I thought of Gladiator as being a more serious movie that sort of flirted with schlock. But now I look back on, oh, it's total schlock. It's
Yeah,
wonderful,
yeah.
but like you kind of have to see it in the context of the movies Ridley Scott made later.
Yes.
And but it's gorgeous. The music is fantastic. I mean,
Oh my
immediately,
God. Yeah.
yeah, I bought the soundtrack like the day after I saw the movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, and he's fantastic in it. I mean, you know, you haven't seen Gladiator 2 yet.
No.
But I can say something about Gladiator 2, which is that, Paul Mescal, as good an actor as he is, feels totally wrong for that part to me. Not because he can't do that part, but because there is this whole thing, like there are all these scenes where, Denzel Washington is looking at him and saying that I see
Hmm.
rage in you. And it's like, and it cuts to Paul Mescal, and it's just like,
Yeah. No.
no, you don't. No, you don't. There's no rage in this man, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Um,
need somebody, you need like another episode we did, like a Colin Farrell. You can see a little
yeah,
rage there. Yeah.
there is a kind of, and it's not like you can sort of imagine Paul Mescal being Russell Crowe's son in a weird way. Like their features aren't that different, but there is a kind of just like, there's obviously a certain melancholy to Russell Crowe in Gladiator,
Yes.
but there is just like a savagery that just
Hmm.
feels right. And when he unleashes, many times in the film, it just like he's perfect. He is the person to cast in this part. And I remember that script. I mean, or maybe that, I don't know if it was that script, but that project, like a Gladiator project, was hovering around Hollywood for a long time.
Hmm.
And I think maybe even like Arnold Schwarzenegger was attached at some point, which should have keyed me into the fact that this thing is really supposed to be schlock.
Yeah.
Um, but Crow in so many ways really brought that sort of unhinged action element while building a real character as a really, terrific actor. Um, yeah, I mean it's funny because you could, I mean, another person I could sort of see doing that part, although he just reads as much more modern, even though he did Braveheart. But Mel Gibson,
Yeah.
kind of comes from that tradition of, oh, there's something wrong with this guy. Of course, it turned out there was something
Yes.
wrong with him. But there is that, I mean, the Lethal Weapon movies are a perfect example of that, where it's just like
Yeah.
he's so charming, partly because he's crazy and like
He's
this is a
unhinged.
movie. And
Yeah.
if you actually ran into this person in real life, you'd be like, oh my God, call the
Yeah.
police, which, unfortunately happened. But Russell Crowe kind of has that quality, which is also why I wonder if, as we discussed earlier, after doing these movies for a few years, he kind of stepped back a little bit and was just like,
Yeah.
I can't do all these types of movies anymore. I wonder if he felt like he was losing it a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think you start getting worn thin a little bit and spread too thin, and it's just got to take a lot out of you too. The long shoots and the amount of preparation. One thing I do love rewatching Gladiator today is that yes, you said like, he's ripped and everything. He is, but he's not like scary Marvel era ripped, which
Yeah.
is like this total steroided out kind of ridiculous. Like he's more believable as like a guy who's in shape who was a soldier, and
Yeah.
and it fits better. You talked about the script. It was rewritten, of course, deaths in the cast and stuff. But this is one that I remember watching in our screenwriting class. That was like the first screenwriting class, and we only watched like the first act, kind of how they establish everything up until like you know, establishing his home life, and then when things happened, and so they were pointing out how classic the setup for
Mhm.
Gladiator was, which I hadn't really put together, because I remember when I saw this the first time, I'm like, oh, it's a little new agey. And you mentioned Tony Scott, and it kind of reminds me of a Tony Scott movie I love is Deja Vu, but that's a little new agey, and so it's kind of like, a little bit on that
Yeah.
level. But yeah, I think, this one doesn't fully work as well as some of the other Russell Crowe movies and some of the other Ridley Scott movies. But now, I think hearing a little bit more about Gladiator 2, of course, it's going to make it look, yes, even better.
Oh,
Yes.
we'll see what you think.
Yeah.
Some people love it. Some people like it more than the first one.
Are
So,
you serious? Wow.
yeah, yeah, they're out there.
Yeah, whole other podcast. Yes. And then, of course, there was the Ron Howard years, A Beautiful Mind. This was back to back. He was an actor in two Best Picture winners there back to back. Um, Beautiful
And,
Mind, and
and a lot of
then
people thought he was a shoo-in to win the Oscar for
yes,
Mine, which didn't
yeah.
happen. I remember that was kind of a surprise, right?
Yeah, there was all of this controversy surrounding Beautiful Mind, like some of these things that pop up like right before the Oscars, and these different, I remember that was a pretty controversial one. And one, I liked Beautiful Mind. I think, the performances are great, but Cinderella Man, I think, is very beautiful. It's a film. I remember AMC theaters at the time. I don't know if I'm guessing it was nationwide, but I do remember there was like this initiative where, and I think it was maybe because the title wasn't drawing people in, or they didn't know what the hell this movie was, that
Mhm.
if you bought a ticket to Cinderella Man and you did not like it, you would get your money back. And so the AMC theaters were doing this. And I remember asking when I was there for a film screening, like, they said nobody had ever asked for their money back. So it is a film, like, you give it time, it's a great one. I think, it's a moving story. This is a film I actually showed two Russell Crowe movies now that I'm thinking of it. One I programmed 310 to Yuma, and this library series at Scottsdale Public Library, where I gave a lecture and we did a discussion. And then Cinderella Man was kind of like a last minute fill-in. I can't remember what I had planned, and all of a sudden we needed to change it out, and they gave me like two options, and I went with Cinderella Man. And so I just kind of had to go from memory. And yeah, everyone loved this one. It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that I vaguely remember that, that AMC thing, and I think in the end, I read something about like I mean, some people did ask for their money back. It was like a
Yeah.
two-digit number.
Maybe
It was
not
like
at the Phoenix
54
one.
people, it was like 54 people asked for their money.
Yeah.
The film underperformed
Yeah.
at the time, especially being kind of like it was going to be Ron Howard with Russell Crowe again, and it felt
Yes.
like a real sort of um, a hit, like the kind of hit that Ron Howard had specialized in up until that point.
Yeah.
And it might have even been an early indication that that type of movie was kind of going out the window. Um,
Yeah.
it's funny what happens with Cinderella Man is it's such a I mean it's very old fashioned, obviously,
It is. Yes.
and I remember like I mean I saw it, I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it like on DVD not long after it came out, and I hadn't revisited, but I remember really liking it.
Hmm.
And so for this podcast, I was watching it again. I bought the Blu-ray like a couple of years ago. I hadn't watched it yet, and I watched it, and I was like, "What happens at the end of this? Does he win? I don't remember." And I was like, "He can't possibly win, can he? Like they don't modern movies about boxers winning." Like I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I remember like there was something weird about the ending of this movie. And of
Yeah.
course he does win. But that's what was weird because we were so at this point we were so
Yeah. It's
trained to
supposed to
think
be
that
about the journey. Yes.
yeah, but also like this is like for him to
Farewell.
win or
Yes.
even though Rocky doesn't win at the end of Rocky,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like it's seen as the convention is seen as oh no like the underdog wins, right?
Yeah.
And so you're watching it and you're like, well, this can't possibly, this is too new a movie for that to have
Hmm.
been like the thing. And when you're watching, oh wait, he won. That's awesome, you know?
Yeah.
Um, it's funny during that final fight or in the run up to that final fight, there's a scene, you know, they're intercutting between like the people at church praying, and there's a cut to like these older women praying,
Hmm.
and I thought to myself, oh, there's no way he's gonna lose this fight. Like when they cut to the
They
when a
went to
movie
the old
cuts to
ladies.
elderly women praying, there is no way their
Yeah.
prayers are not gonna be
That'd
answered,
be
you know?
one dark movie. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Um, But no, there was a period though while I was watching the film when I'm like wondering, like, so does Max Baer kill him? Is that what happens? Is that how this movie ends?
Yeah.
But no, it's I mean it's such a good film, and I remember there was this period. I mean, because Russell Crowe was such a fiery figure,
Hmm.
obviously I mean, he broke up one Hollywood marriage, and I have it on good authority, though I guess it's not public knowledge, so I won't mention it here, that he broke up another very high
Oh,
profile.
yes. I think I know which one. Yeah.
Um, but the
There was an email situation I remember hearing about. Yeah.
but there was also there was the stories about him like throwing phones at people and
Yes. I think he even
interviews.
talked about that on like a 60 Minutes. Like,
Right,
yeah.
right. And I don't remember if the phone throwing incident was before Cinderella Man or after Cinderella. I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was. I think it was
I think it
before.
was
But he had,
before.
and there were also all these rumors, reports. I haven't, I haven't researched these recently, but I remember at the time there were these reports that he and Ridley Scott hadn't gotten along, and that he and Ron
Yeah.
Howard weren't getting along, and it was kind of like. But I remember Russell Crowe during his awards campaign, either for this one or A Beautiful Mind, making a point of talking about what a man he considered Ron Howard to be,
Mm.
and kind of like this very sort of macho, you're a real man kind. And it's funny because I'm like Ron Howard, like
Ron Howard's movies, they're fascinating to me, and I think it goes to him being a child actor, but they're all about doing the work, kind of like Michael Mann movies,
yeah,
procedure porn. But this is in a different way. They're all about just doing your job or supporting people in your family, like going to work. And like there are a couple scenes in this movie that, I'm sure that they, who knows if they're real or not. Like I haven't investigated the true story, but where he returns the money that he needed for his family. He went on, government
he did return the
assistance.
money. That I
Yeah.
believe is true. That
Okay.
that part, yeah.
Yes. And scenes like that. And it does break your heart, like when he has to go and ask for money among his old colleagues. And but yeah, it's a very like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's the Ron Howard way. And doing everything for your family and work, I mean, it's my brother, god damn it. It's Backdraft. Yes, yeah. It's Ron
Well,
Howard.
and the other thing that Ron Howard is particularly good at is, I mean, he's made a number of films that are based on true stories.
Yes.
Um, and he's very good at, and again, I was just saying with Cinderella Man, watching it again, I couldn't remember how it ended, and I was like, what's going to happen? But he is actually very good at the whole sort of, yeah, you know how the story's going to end, but I'm going to make you like actually like
Get really
sit on the
invested.
edge of your seat anyway,
Hmm.
because I mean he does that with was it 13
Apollo
Lives?
13 and 13 Lives.
It's
Great
13
film.
Lives, right? That's the number.
Yeah.
Was it 13? But yeah, because it's like, I
You
mean, we
know
all
that
watched
those
that
kids.
thing happen.
Yes.
We all watched that thing happen. We absolutely
Yes.
know these kids survived, and it was a heroic
Yeah.
thing. We watched it happen. We saw the documentaries, but then you watch the movie and you're just like, holy shit, are they gonna make it?
Yeah, yeah. Like, oh my God, the kid is coming too. What are we gonna
Yeah,
do?
like what's
Yeah,
he gonna
yeah,
do? Oh my God, like
yeah.
and it is, I mean, he is very good at that.
Hmm.
And I think, I mean, look, he has a new film that hasn't come out yet, but it played at Toronto called Eden, which I thought was quite good. And
Okay.
it's totally nuts. It's actually like the craziest Ron Howard movie, I would say. But it's based on this real life story of of this of these people that tried to start this like, you know, new civilization on an island in the middle of nowhere.
Mhm.
And it's based on a real story. Was it the Galapagos? Is it in the Galapagos? But it's based on a true story that's been well documented. Um,
Mhm.
and I didn't really know the story, so for me it wasn't as much of an issue. But like I know people who know the story, who saw the film and were like really, really wondering what was going to happen,
Mhm.
though they knew what was going to happen. So he's good at that. He's very good at. Well, I think what it comes down to is that he makes these films that are based on true stories, but he doesn't give them sort of a prestige movie veneer. Like
Mhm.
he is still very much a product of like Hollywood and like of like the Spielberg era. And so his films have a kind of poppiness that sort of doesn't like takes them out of the realm of realism, like
Mhm.
historical realism. Like you start to enjoy them just as like a movie. Like the people stop feeling like real characters. They
Yeah, a
stop.
little bit. Yeah.
I mean, not that they don't feel real, but they stop feeling like people who really existed because he's so good at just making it all seem so kind of. I mean, he Hollywoodizes the stories, but
Yes.
not in a bad way for the most part.
Mhm.
Like he Hollywoodizes, like he has a flair for just like the sensationalized, and he has a flair for spectacle, and he has a flair for just kind of, very quick, clean character lines and things like that, which
Mhm.
then makes you enjoy the movie or experience the movie really as just like, a very poppy story that's happening before your eyes as opposed to
Mhm.
something out of history. So you stop thinking of it as history.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a really great film. I'm glad that you mentioned this one. We were kind of going back and forth on like which Ron
Yeah.
Howard movie we should do. But I was glad this is
Yeah,
another
I
one
don't I
with the
don't love a
beautiful
beautiful.
score,
Yeah.
Thomas Newman, and this
Oh yeah.
this was also around the time of Road to Perdition, another Thomas Newman score. They even kind of look alike the way that they're shot and the era. So those are two films you can watch kind of in tandem as well. And then jumping ahead, we've got Crow being funny. And I think, we knew he was kind of a funny guy, but we knew he was funny more on his talk show appearances and some of that. But I love seeing him in The Nice Guys, which is kind of one of those movies that Twitter is obsessed with.
Yeah.
I prefer Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, but Nice Guys is a blast. Russell Crowe, Ryan Gosling, Shane Black. So talk to me about The Nice Guys.
I mean, the Nice Guys is delightful.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, obviously, we know now that Ryan Gosling is a comic genius.
Yes.
Um, I mean,
He kind of
recognizes
needed to
such things
like
to
ease into
Barbie.
that a bit. Yeah. Like he was a serious guy and he still can
Yeah.
do serious, but
W-
I think he just kind of realized he could have a little more fun. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think people forget he was seen as such a serious actor. Like he was
Yeah.
seen as like really like I mean, it's almost like when Ed Norton first came onto the scene, it was this kind of like, oh, this guy is like
Yeah.
a real thing and he's really intense and he's kind of got an intense face. He's got the tiny mouth.
Yeah.
And
They forget the Mickey Mouse Club and stuff, but yes.
yeah, that's the thing though. But that's the thing is like the Mickey Mouse Club almost seemed like a weird anomaly because
Yeah,
he
for
was
him
like
and Kerry
doing
Russell and a bunch of them.
right,
Mhm.
because he was doing. I mean, he did The Believer obviously, but like Blue Valentine. I mean, he was really
Yeah.
seen as like the
Place Beyond the Pines. Yep.
right, like he was really seen as kind of like intense,
Hmm.
kind of brooding. Um, like I said, tiny mouth. I actually think the tiny mouth really helps with comedy, but at the time it was kind of like, Ryan Gosling.
Yes.
And like it turns out, like really he should just be doing comedies, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I mean, he's obviously a very good actor. He can do whatever the hell he wants. But like, you probably know I'm a huge fan of the Fall Guy, and I'm just like, I just want him to make Fall Guy movies for the next 10 years. But The Nice Guys is kind of like that too. It's kind of like, oh gosh, like please make like 10 of these, you know?
Yeah, yeah, he's got this kind of like Burt Reynolds-y kind of thing you can see between this and Fall Guy, and yeah,
Yeah.
just having
But
fun.
it is funny though, if you told me in I don't know, like when did Ryan Gosling first kind of emerge, you know?
There was, oh, what was that movie with Sandra Bullock, Murder by Numbers?
Right,
Then there
right,
was
right.
the Fracture era.
Right,
There
right.
was,
So it's like
yeah,
20
the aughts, I guess.
aughts, right? So if you told me like in the middle of the aughts that one day there would be one of my favorite comedies would star Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, I'd be like,
Yes.
what? These people do comedy? What are you talking
Yes.
about? Um, but one thing I do really love about the Nice Guys is, obviously it starts off as Russell Crowe is kind of the veteran,
Hmm.
investigator, um, who really kind of knows what he's doing and knows his way around things. And then Ryan Gosling,
Yeah.
complete incompetent. But as the movie proceeds, Crowe's character actually like Gosling's incompetence rubs off on Crowe.
Yes, very
Starts to be
much.
like a complete
Yeah.
fucking klutz. Um, and and I, like I love the way the movie switches that stuff around. I mean, you're sort of
Hmm.
watching Gosling become more of um, you know, a more confident, capable person. Like,
Yep.
in his kind of ramshackle way, you're sort of watching that happen over the course of the movie. But really, you're
Hmm.
also watching Russell Crowe just start to fuck things up. Um,
Yeah, Shane Black loves doing that with
yeah,
his duos. He always likes duos that bring out the opposite in each other, and they kind
right.
of change roles as the thing continues. I mean, Lethal
Yeah.
Weapon, but even stuff like Long Kiss Goodnight, and just some of, these characters kind of merge or bring out the opposite in each other. Yeah.
And Crowe is good at that too. I mean, it's funny. I mean, we're talking about this movie, obviously, but there are a number of movies he's done where he's part way. I mean, Master and Commander is an example of that. But like there are like he's made a number of films, or American Gangster. Um, he's made and I mean, The Insider, obviously, but like he in some ways thrives in that kind of environment where he can be a type that then is played off against another type. I mean, in The Insider, we talked
Yes.
about, he's kind of so inward, and then Pacino is so outward, and Pacino is so
Yes.
big, and Crowe is so restrained. And ordinarily, you would say, well, these two people feel like they're in different movies, but
Hmm.
man is so good with tone that it feels like a whole ecosystem that he's
Yeah.
created.
And you
And
actually need that
yeah,
balance for sure.
like I think
Yeah.
Crowe is really good at that. Like I think Crowe should make more movies where it's like him and somebody else, either a buddy movie or like they're chasing each other or something. Like he's
Yeah, yeah.
actually very good
Where he's
bouncing
holding
off
up
some.
his half. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, The Nice Guys is wonderful, and I wish it was a bigger hit.
And yes, I do agree with you. We should have a few of these by now for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and they could,
Yeah,
if the film has enough of a cult following at this point that
I know. And it keeps getting more popular.
and
Yes.
Gosling loved doing it, if I understand correctly. So it's almost like you'd have to, I mean, he'd be
And
the key. Like if you can get him to do it, I can't imagine Russell Crowe wouldn't want to do it.
no, no, from what I understand, he had a blast doing this movie. And this is one I also just love the actors that show up. I mean, all of these movies we're talking about, like with Cinderella Man, we had Paul Giamatti gives a remarkable performance. Other actors in these movies, but in Nice Guys, people like Margaret Qualley. I love Matt Bomer in this because it's so unexpected from what you would expect. Matt Bomer. Kim Basinger shows up in this movie, so that's kind of a
Mhm.
fun little nod, a little wink at the audience. Keith David. It's just, yeah, I think this is great, and they could easily make more of these. Yes. And I think this era too, we started to see Crow in some, was it the Kelly Gang, that movie? Like we
Right. Uh-huh.
started to see different sides of Russell Crowe, even in some of these sort of, I mean, back in the day we would have said direct to disc, or these straight to streaming, or these not that spectacular, like Land of Bad. he's good in it,
which I still
like,
haven't seen. I've heard great things about that.
yeah, it's not a, masterpiece, but he's good in it. It's kind of cool to see him embracing all of these different sides of himself because he can modulate tone and he has a lot of range. Yeah.
He's got tremendous range. I mean, he's a really great, not just a great actor. I mean, we know he's a great actor, but he's
Hmm.
also someone who seems to have really thought about what it means to be an actor and an
Yeah.
artist. There was a speech. I was trying to find it before we went on. I couldn't find it because it was something that somebody had shared on Twitter. And I remember I retweeted it. It was like 2 years ago, in December 2022. Um, and it was Russell Crowe giving some kind of introduction at an awards ceremony. This got shared all over the place, but it was such a sweet and thoughtful speech that he was giving. And I'm trying to find it because I'm just like I need to hear it again. But you
Mm.
got the sense, and he was like the head of the Australian Actors Association at the time, the AACTA, I think. So he was kind of like he wasn't just like randomly riffing on acting. He had to give a speech,
Hmm.
so somebody probably helped him write it. But it was such a thoughtful and moving celebration of acting, and you got the sense that here was a man who really, really cares about the work of an actor. And you know, it felt like a bit of a switch because earlier in his career, because he kind of wound up in tabloids so often, he seemed to be such a sort of intense and
Yeah.
slightly deranged person that like you forget that these people are actually like really serious about their craft.
Yeah.
And in some cases, the reason they are kind of crazy is because they are serious about their craft.
Yes,
I
exactly.
mean, Sean Penn is kind of like that. I mean, Sean Penn is,
Yeah.
he's kind of a, by the way, happily do a Sean Penn episode with you, but like
Oh my God, I would love to. Yeah.
he's one of these guys, he's kind of become a joke now. And I mean, he goes on CNN and sounds
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he just smoked like 30 cigarettes, but like Sean Penn in his day was very serious about acting.
Oh
And
yeah.
and these are people who really, really, really care.
Hmm.
And I love it when it shows, because there is,
Yeah.
I mean, with public figures especially, there is this fear of being seen to care too much. But I love
Hmm.
it when somebody reveals themselves to not like
Yeah.
not worry about that, not worry about that.
They're earnest about it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're willing to
Hmm.
be earnest and they don't feel the need to act like this is just the thing that kind of happened. The way
Yeah,
somebody,
yeah.
oh yeah, this
Oh,
whole
I
thing, I
just
just
fell
threw it
into
up.
it and I got
Yeah, this whole
lucky.
thing, I
Yeah.
just threw it. I'm just so brilliant that I can just stumble into acting and suddenly win
Yeah,
Oscars.
yeah.
And with these people, like, no, 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 no. No.
I worked
We
hard.
worked
Yeah.
very hard at this for a very long
Hmm.
time, and we think about it all the time because, I mean, that's actually something that people should be able to relate to. Like, whatever you're
Yeah.
doing in life, like, oh, right, hard work is actually like something that pays off sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and it definitely did here. And before we logged on and started recording, you were talking about how Russell Crowe has been in so many movies that you didn't have time to rewatch, of course, because you're very busy and you write so many brilliant pieces. But looking at his filmography, are there any films you want to make sure people seek out, maybe that you want to watch again in the future, now that you're kind of going down
Ah.
the Crow rabbit hole?
Well, I think we briefly mentioned 310 to Yuma,
Yes.
which
I
I
don't
love.
know. Have I told you the story where I
You
showed
mentioned it a
this?
little bit, but tell me the full story.
Okay, yeah. I showed the film and it was mostly with the Scottsdale. It was by a bunch of nursing homes. And so we were like the activity on a Sunday. And there's a scene in the movie where he is staring very intently with lust at a female barmaid. And this woman watching it, this older woman, like forgot to breathe for a second and started coughing so hard and she actually like had to get up and leave the auditorium and I'm like, "Oh my God." So I followed to make sure she was okay. And I'm like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "That man." Just, and it just kind of shows you the difference in he knows how to do that. And it was all nonverbal. And of course it's Russell Crowe. He knows how to pick up a woman. But yeah, it just kind of shows you the difference between the genders and how that played. So yes, that movie is great. But
In terms of films, I mean, like I said, 310 to Yuma is a really good film, and
Yeah, it's a great Western.
I am actually a fan of James Mangold,
Yeah, me
and I feel
too.
like he's a guy who doesn't get the
Hmm.
respect he should.
I'm a
I mean, yes,
huge Night and Day person, but yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of Night and Day, but I'm like, he's made some clunkers, but he's made mostly very good films. You know, I mean, looking over his career, there's so many films where he shows up, and I'm like, well, he's really good. The movie isn't so
Yeah,
good,
yeah. Hmm.
Um, and like oh gosh, I mean, Thor: Love and Thunder is terrible, but he's delightful in it. The
I have
greatest beer
not
run ever
seen
is yeah.
the Pope's movies. Are they entertaining?
They're entertaining. They're not good. But I mean that's it's one. I guess they're going to do a sequel. But the Pope's Exorcist,
Okay.
he's actually a lot of fun in the Pope's
Okay.
Exorcist. The movie kind of forgets to have as much fun as he's having. Like the
All
movie takes
right.
it a little too seriously. But it's totally worth seeing. I mean, that could very well be a movie. Look, I had to review it. I was looking forward to it, and I was ready to have like a goofy good time, and I didn't quite have a goofy good time. But it's entirely possible that if I watch it again, I might have a better time than I did when I first saw it. Noah, he's very good. And I mean, Noah is in some ways. I mean, the Nice Guys obviously we really like, but Noah is kind of. I mean, is it like maybe his last true great performance in like a big serious
Yeah, I
movie?
don't know.
Like
Probably.
after that, it's kind of a lot of like I mean, The Water Diviner he directed, so like
Yeah.
he had other. It's not a great movie, but like he had other other things on his mind.
Hmm.
But like I don't think I've seen Fathers and Daughters, but
Mm-mm. No.
and it's like I mean, The Mummy is terrible. And we make a lot of jokes about the Dark Universe and how it flopped. I do feel like it would have been fun to see a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde movie with Russell Crowe. That's what they were saying.
Ooh.
Because that's who he plays in that movie is almost like it's not a cameo, but it's like the moments in that movie where they're like starting to build their universe. And I'm
Mm.
thinking, well, this movie is terrible, but I kind of want it to be a hit because I sort of need my Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde movie with Russell Crowe because that would be a great Russell Crowe, you know? Like somebody should just do that.
Yeah.
I mean
We're
that's
just throwing out ideas here. I love this.
I mean
More
Dr.
Nice
Jekyll and
Guys, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yeah.
Jekyll and Hyde is I'm pretty sure in the public domain. Like you could go and
Yeah.
make a movie like that with Russell Crowe like today if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
Because that's who he played in that, right? Yeah. But yeah, so
Yeah. Well, Bilge, I want to thank you so much for doing this, for talking about Russell Crowe. You came up with some great ideas for more actors we need to talk about. So, let's shorten the list because,
sure.
otherwise I'll keep you there all year and you'll have to come back. Yeah. So I
I would
appreciate
love
it.
to. I would love to.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun, and it was really fun revisiting these Russell Crowe movies. It is, he is. There was that brief period when Russell Crowe was like the biggest actor in the world, and it was
Yes.
like we didn't know how good we had it. You
We
know.
did not. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have these huge movie stars anymore at this level. Yeah.
I mean, we
We have
have some
some,
we
but
we have
yeah.
good actors, and we have, but it is, I mean, it was kind of last gasp of like.
Yeah, of the kind of films that we were making too. Hmm.
Yeah, mainstream
Yeah,
serious movie making with like big stars and big budget
yeah,
and that kind of had space to breathe and people spent time making them and they spent money making them. We have some of those movies now, but they don't really spend a lot of time making them and it's funny, they spend a lot of money, but there's somehow like I'm like, what? Maybe you should have spent more money. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't really look like you spent that much, but yeah, so
Yes. No, this was great. Thank you so much.
thank you. This was great.
I also want to thank everyone for listening, especially my patrons who support the show and help fund my research, equipment, film rentals, RSS fees, and more for as little as $1 per month at the Film Intuition Patreon, which is the home base for the show. Other ways you can support the podcast are by sharing, reviewing, and subscribing to Watch with Jen wherever you get your podcasts, and also checking out the cool merch store hosted and created by our talented logo designer, Kate Gabrielle. You can find the merchandise store, including shirts, tote bags, stickers, and more by visiting filmintuition.com and clicking on the shop link. The show's theme music is Solo Acoustic Guitar by Jason Shaw and is available in the free music archive. You can also reach me or interact with Watch with Jen anytime on Twitter, either at Film Intuition or our Watch with Jen account as well. Well, until next time, please take care and happy movie watching. This is Jen Johans at filmintuition.com and Film Intuition on social media and Letterboxd. And this is Watch with Jen.